Well, howdy do, buckaroos. This is a Beer Whisperer. This is my second helping of the Heritage Brewing Company Scot American Ale, 11%. It's a beast, boy. I gotta tell you, I love this beer. It is everything I want in a beer this time of year. It's big, it's rich, it's malty, it's decadent. It's a little sweet, but not overly so. It's barrel aged. You get some smoke. I forgot to mention in the first video I did on it, the oak. You actually feel a lot of the oak, especially near the end. I'm getting the strange finish that I actually really enjoy, but I'm not used to in a beer like this, and I know my taste buds have to be a little off. I'm going to ask Lyle what he gets. You don't typically get this note from a beer like this, but I was noticing at the very end. I mean, I get that smoke and I get that white oak, the oak clearing it up. But I also am feeling like a very slightest bit of like a tart fig right at the very end. So anyway, I know I'm losing my marbles. I kind of do that. And I'm also, you guys know I'm nuts, right? It's crazy time. What's you doing now? So I wanted to see, I love pairing these big beers with whiskey. And I kind of sit back and forth. That's just kind of my ritual. I don't drink either fast. I just like to sit and enjoy. And this one is, I thought I'd pair this, since this is a Scot American Ale. It's a Scottish style ale with an American twist. This is Rocktown, Arkansas Hickory Smoke Whiskey. And I described this in my videos as, if Americans invented Scotch, this would it be. This doesn't taste like Scotch anyway, don't get me wrong. Oh, but it presents itself in the same manner, whereas in a Scotch you get that big peaty smoke on the nose, on the palate. Here I'm getting that hickory smoke. It presents itself in the same way. That's why I decided to pair these two together. And boy, I was right. You were right, Tom, some bitch. Anyways, I had a story I was going to tell. I didn't mean to be 2 minutes in before I started it. So here it is. I planned on popping this on New Year's Eve. It was going to be my very first New Year's Eve beer, and everything was going to be wonderful. You know, I really wanted to do this one very badly. I had that planned for a while, not just that day. I had a plan, man. From the day I opened this package, that was the plan. You know how plans are, right? So anyway, what happened was I got up on the morning of the 31st to take a shower, and I have Tourette's, and OCD is a component of Tourette's, so I tend to shower multiple times during the day. Not that you need to know that, but here you go. But I always shower first thing in the morning. And I went to a very cold shower. Now, our water heater's 30 years old anyway, and we've had issues with it staying lit. So I called the gas company to come out and light it, and she tried and couldn't get it lit, said it was going to need a service. So we got the guy out here that always does the work for us. And, sure enough, it's shot. He got it lit just enough. He said he hoped it would last a few days until he can come out and put a new water heater in. So anyway, we were kind of bummed that way, but we had a couple errands to run, so we went and did that. My wife needed to do a couple things on her own, so that's when I ended up going to Macadoodles, and I had two there. So I ended up doing that instead of popping this, which was my plan. My plan wasn't to go anywhere, but circumstances took me in a different direction. So I thought, well, I'll go home, I'll rest for a little bit, then I'll pop it. But as we were on our way home, our daughter called, and her and the grandkids wanted to come over and spend some time with us. So that was fine. They came over. I don't mind. It wasn't a burden by any means. Don't get me wrong. It was fun to have them here. But I didn't get to this beer because we had company. And then by the time they left, it was about 8 o'clock. And then my palate was a bit strained. I didn't want to pop it then. So I thought, well, I'll just do it on the first. But again, fate stepped in. Some bitch, that bastard. Anyways, as my wife went to take a shower on the 31st, after the kids went home, it had gone out again, and we were back to cold water. So then I made the phone calls I need to make, but you're not. So anyway, to make a long story not as long. Basically, we had to have a new water heater put in. That was put in today. This is the second. So anyway, my plans kind of got pushed. I had to do some stuff earlier today, but now I am home. I'm able to relax. I finally got to this bad boy of a beer that I wanted to get to. I really wanted to have one glass by itself, and I did. But since I read the description on this beer, that it's a Scottish ale, but, kind of with an American influence behind it, I wanted to pair it with this whiskey, because this is what I feel is the same thing. It is a pot distilled from Arkansas wheat mash, but again, it's that hickory smoke really makes it feel like, if American invented Scotch, this would be the whiskey, because this really presents itself in the same way as a Scotch does. And it actually works perfectly, and I'll tell you why. Is because it is a wheat mash. Wheats are very soft, they're very velvety, and they're a little sweet. So I do get that wheat sweetness from here as well. And then I get that big hickory smoke and that charred white oak. This, I feel a lot the same way. I get that big full-bodied malt, that big Scottish, it's a little sweet, it's a little sticky. But then that oak really helps kind of dry it out right at the end, so it doesn't become overly sweet or cloying. And in this case, I think both products work perfectly together. Again, not everybody likes to do that. I've even had people actually get mad and cuss, in social media, verbally type, and, not so nice things to me. But, I didn't invent the process. I'm not the first guy to ever pair a big whiskey, a big beer with a big whiskey. I'm not the first guy to do it. I wish I did invent it, but I didn't. But I'm telling you, if that is something, if you appreciate both a good whiskey and a good beer, I think the process works. But it's finding that right combination of the two that work together, and then drink them properly. I don't mix the two. I drink a sip of this, I relax, then I have a sip of that, and they just kind of complement each other. So hey, I want to thank Lyle Brown once again for getting this beer to me. He sent me 4. There was the Hardywood Farmhouse Pumpkin Ale, that was brilliant. The Gingerbread Stout was, I don't know if there's words to describe how good that beer was. I was out of adjectives that day trying to figure out what to say about that beer. It was just that good. And I'm not a big gingerbread kind of guy, but that beer was just out of bounds. There's the triple I have left, so I want to get to that at some point. I don't know if I'll get to it today or tomorrow. I really want to get to it this weekend, though. And this is the Scot American Ale. So thanks, Lyle, for getting it to me. You couldn't have picked a better beer for my wheelhouse than this one. This one is beautiful. Thank you very much. Yummy, yummy for my tummy.